Northern Ireland's most prolific online child sex abuser, Alexander McCartney, was jailed for a minimum of 20 years. He's believed to have had around 3,500 victims across more than 30 countries. Some were as young as just 4 years old.
So disturbing, isn't it? Well, today the NSPCC has revealed that online grooming crimes in the UK have actually reached a record high, with more than 7,000 offences in the last year. Lorin Lafave has campaigned tirelessly for greater protection from groomers after her 14-year-old son, Breck, was lured to a house by an internet predator where he was brutally killed. We're going to be speaking to Lorin alongside Sir Peter Wanless of the children's charity, the NSPCC, about the report in just a moment.
Lorin and Peter, thank you both for joining us this morning. The thing that strikes me immediately about this is that it happens so secretly. You know, it's a personal thing between your phone and a stranger. That the fact is, people at home now may not know this is going on in their own homes.
Yes.
Like it was for you, Lorin.
Yes. I was actually aware that my son was being groomed, and I couldn't get anyone to understand my concerns, to take them seriously, because he was an everyday schoolboy. He was, having fun at school with his friends, acting normally. So people didn't recognize that grooming can be happening secretly, behind the scenes, in their own bedrooms. And I think it's worse than ever because children are going on their devices younger and younger.
Yes.
It was a past battle of the NSPCC's to get these crimes recorded as grooming crimes against children as a distinct offence. So the figures which we're announcing today, which are a record high, were only collected for the first time 2017, 2018, as a result of a change in the law which NSPCC and others campaigned for as a consequence of what Lorin had found so difficult.
Was that because... Was that because people just didn't recognise the online grooming in general, or was it also something to do with the age of the groomer as well?
Well, for me, I think people don't consider crimes online the same as face-to-face crimes. They think, well, it's different, it's online. Well, it's not different. It affects children and just as much with their well-being, with their self-esteem, with their, the exploitation. They're still just as affected, whether it's online or face-to-face.
It's still abuse.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. At which point have they identified it as a crime? I mean, is it a crime when there's just some messages on a mobile phone? Is that being seen as a crime? Or does there have to be physical contact or some real physical abuse? I mean, that's the thing I think we need to...
So there doesn't have to be physical contact. These figures are about sexually explicit communications between adults and children. Yeah. So that's the threshold here. But, children increasingly living their lives online, they don't see a distinction between the online world and the offline world. What the NSPCC has been kind of leading the charge with many other kind of kindred spirits on is that the child protection, basics of child protection should be designed into the online world just the same way as they are in the offline world. And if you're producing products or services which children are accessing or consuming, you should be thinking about the basic safety features that those particular consumers deserve, just as you would if you were producing, a toy for a child.
This is the problem, is that social media companies are saying that they're doing all that they can, and that was even in the NSPCC report, but they're not actually doing all they can because children are still being abused and harmed on their platforms. Any other business that was having children harmed within their business site setting would have to answer, but because it's online, somehow...
You mentioned the social media platforms, Lorin, so I wanted to just interrupt you because we probably did get this right of replying. One of the social media platforms that has faced some of the biggest allegations is Snapchat, and I mean, I don't use Snapchat, but I know it's the one where your messages disappear. So
it is the communication of choice, I find, amongst teenagers. And
you can see why the fact that messages can disappear can sometimes feel appealing. We reached out to Snapchat, who said any sexual exploitation of young people is horrific and illegal, and we have zero tolerance for it. If we identify such activity or it is reported to us, we remove the content, disable the account, take steps to prevent the offender from creating additional accounts and report them to the authorities.
We also reached out to Ofcom, who said from December, tech firms will be legally required to start taking action under the Online Safety Act, and they'll have to do far more to protect children. Is one of the problems with social media generally is that in order to get change, you need to have a sort of global urge and a global agreement. It's quite hard for countries unilaterally to tackle the companies.
Well, I think the thing is it is a worldwide problem.
Yeah.
So the companies, I feel, are hiding behind being maybe based in another country or being online.
Yeah.
But it's not good enough, because the statement that you just read out, we know full well that this particular case that harmed over 3,500 victims, most of it, or half of it almost, was done through Snapchat.
Yeah,
so,
I really struggle with that suggestion that there's a zero tolerance of these crimes, because these crimes have already happened. If these companies were really serious about designing child protection into their services, these crimes would be being prevented and detected, and the patterns of grooming behaviour
What do you think they should do then?
Upon.
What should they just stop young people using them?
Well, there are some obvious. They say you shouldn't be on there under 13, but a lot of their marketing is aimed at very young children. You said, Kate, it's the platform of choice for teenagers.
For basic communication, not text, not phone calls. It's it's
so effective age assurance would be a help. Thinking about these features which are high risk for younger people, like the disappearing pictures, like the automatic revelation of where you are located, making sure that by default these features for younger accounts are in place. And we're seeing some of these moves. So Instagram have recently announced some improvements as a consequence, I must say, of the threat of the legislation which is coming in. But that is happening. But still there are areas, particularly private messaging, end-to-end encrypted sites, where the companies are pumping out as a design feature, these are secret spaces. Come and do what you like in the secret.
Peter, what do we know about the groomers in this situation? You know, because we all have sort of stigmas attached to or stereotypes what the groomers might be, but I suspect you're probably going to say that they come from almost any walk of life.
All walks of life. Sexual predators walk among us, and this is one of the things which we have struggled to teach through the ages, that people who take advantage of children aren't all dirty old men in raincoats hanging around the park, and the same is true online. We all need to be alert and vigilant.
Because in the same way that we may not know that somebody in our family is being victimised on their mobile phone, we may not know that somebody in our family could be sat at the end of the sofa at the dinner table being a groomer on their phone. I mean, that's the scary part.
I do think with the social media companies, there are keywords and phrases that they would be able to pick up. And I believe that there's more that they could do. And I feel that globally, we need to push for that to keep children safer.
And the consequences, the reason why for it, are devastating, as you know. How are you doing 10 years on?
It's hard to even believe it's been 10 years, because every day it still hurts and it's still hard. Luckily, I have a great support system and a wonderful family and husband. But I can't stand to see these figures come out, because with all the work that all of us have done, this should not be happening. We need Ofcom to assure that the Online Safety Act is as strong and as it can be, to ensure that these platforms are taking responsibility, because any child lost, any child harmed, abused is one too many. And these companies should not be in business if they cannot run a safe platform. And if government can't help with that, we need to keep encouraging them, begging them, asking them to please help the children who are our future. Why let them go through what they're going through? And the numbers aren't even telling what's really happening. These are just the police reports that came in. They're not even talking about the ones that the children are still affected by in their rooms
Yes.
and not been able to speak out about it.
Lorin, you're so inspiring,
powerful
so
advocate.
brave, and the
Yeah.
courage for you to everything you've been through, and you are doing this in your son's honour.
I try.
And
Thank you.
Breck's honour is to stop this happening to
I don't
other
want it to
children.
happen to one more child. It's too late for
amazing
us,
what you're
for our
doing.
family. But I want
Thank you.
parents, please listen to us today.
Yes, thank you very much indeed. And Peter, thank you to you too.